All right, so all guests on ZASLOW Show 2.0 are always brought to us by Johnny Cuba, lifestyle brand, European roots with a Caribbean soul. Start your evening with a refreshing German lager in a can. You purchase a six-pack of Johnny Cuba right now at your local Sedano's, Presidente, Winn-Dixie, Fresco y Mas. You got holiday specials right now on six-packs of Johnny Cuba all throughout this holiday season. And don't forget Johnny Cuba's mantra, stay tranquilo. Joining us now, host of my favorite show, everybody knows, Morning Men, SiriusXM, Mad Dog Radio. Evan Cohen joining us here. How about this, Evan? I've had you on the show for years now. People tell me that, listeners, ZASLOW Show 2.0 listeners, ZASLOW, I love the new show. I love the new podcast. The interviews you're doing, they're fire. And it's like, I'm not doing anything different. I'm having the same people, the same rotation of people, but now because I can see people when I talk to them, it is such a massive difference in the conversations that we have.
Well, I'm sorry you have to look at me, though. I mean, that's not pretty. I mean, there's a reason that I'm on radio, that's for sure. But I love being a part of it. I was a part of 1.0. I mean, I'm just throwing this out there. I think I like 2.0 better. Just
okay.
And all those great advertising partners that you have, very smart, jumping on board.
Yes.
Early stages of ZASLOW 2.0, because I'm telling you, when this thing is sold out, which it will be, and people are knocking on that door and they can't in, all those great advertising partners, oh boy, they are really smart. Ahead of
How about that?
Well done by them.
How about that endorsement right there? So Evan Cohen, SiriusXM Mad Dog Radio, Morning Men with Mike Babchick and Willie Colon. It's my favorite show. Everybody knows. See, I had to be careful with that. I didn't have to be careful, but I was being respectful, where I would say, everybody knows it's my favorite show, when I was on local radio. But like, I don't have to cover it up anymore. Not that I had to before, but like I said, I was being respectful. But for folks out there listening, it is my favorite show. All right. I listen every single day. It's been my favorite show for a few years now.
Well, that's until Amber's show starts at night.
That's going to be like, it may be 1A and 1B. That's true. Especially now because Joy Taylor is she's technically not radio anymore since she's not with the herd. So I don't have to say, oh, that's my favorite show. You're right. Amber's starting up January 3rd. She was there yesterday, doing promo pictures.
Big
and
time.
It really cool for her. But like, I don't have to cover it up anymore. It's my favorite show, Morning Man, on Mad Dog Radio. Now it's been a long time removed from you doing, well, I guess not that long. It's only been like a year or whatever since you stopped doing the show in West Palm. Do you miss?
A year ago today.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I'm right.
It's a year ago. Yeah, 1 year ago today. And today actually is going to be my last day. I haven't announced this on the state. Well, it's going to be on the station.
Go on.
So I've been doing these 5-minute hits at 11:55 and 5:55 on ESPN West Palm. And I know you have many friends that work at the station as well, outside of you and I. And today's actually my last day doing that because I tried to extend it for a year, which I did. And we had great advertising partners as well. But it was just time. And it's time now. We have great hosts on the station. JMP for years, obviously. And he's been a part of it. Ken Levica, Josh Cohen, all these people that you've known. And I know you've been in contact with over the course of time. They're on the station and it's time. It's time for me to kind of let go of that for now. I don't want to say forever. Right. I'm not going to say that. And I'm still a part of Good Karma in my role with the company. And we have stations all over the country, as you know. But yeah, ESPN West Palm. And you were on ESPN West Palm for years with all the Heat broadcasts, right, which was great. You were on. There were many nights where literally I would throw to you after I was done doing the pregame, cool, etc. So that would happen. I mean, for however long you did the Heat pregame when we had the Heat rights, it was me and to you. You probably didn't even realize that.
I did not know that. No, I did not realialize that. That's this is the first I'm hearing that. That's a good setup. All right. I got that Evan Cohen rub right there at the start of the pregame.
There were nights when I first started, when I was on at night, you'd bump me because we'd have Daz in for me. And I wouldn't have a show because you would bump me with pregame.
Do you miss doing the local? Like I've never done, I've been asked before. I've never done a national radio show. I love local, do you miss not doing any local?
Of course, but I also think like the more I understand radio, the more I realize that I wasn't necessarily made for local at that time that I was doing local, even though I was doing it. And what I mean by that is I'm a big believer that if you're doing local radio, you need to physically be out in the community as much as possible, getting to know people. And I'm not very social in general. Like, I'm not the person that goes out and hangs out all the time with everybody. And I think to be great at local radio, you really need to be physically in the community as much as possible. And I think any radio show needs to have someone that does that. And so one of the things that I realized over the course of time is now on the morning show, having Mike Babchek, who I work with, he is the ultimate in the community guy and loves it. Literally gives out his actual cell phone number on the air and will communicate with fans as we go. So I miss doing local radio, but I also know that I'm probably at my best doing national. That's not to say I wouldn't do local. Of course I would. Because of the fact that it's harder to, if you live in Florida or New York, which are the two places that I've lived for the last 20 plus years, I can't interact with people in Nebraska on a daily basis, but the people in Nebraska are important. You know, you going out and about interacting with people, it's much easier to do local radio in that regard if you have that personality. But I love ESPN West Palm. I mean, we have great people that work there. And the last year of shows I did with Jeanette Javier, and she's wonderful. She's a big fan of yours. I've tried to convince her otherwise. No, I'm just kidding. So she was wonderful being a part of it. And Brian Rowitz before that, and John Martin. So like I had a great crew of people with me, and they're all still there. I mean, it's crazy. You know, I'm telling, you know, for your audience, but like Zaz knows a lot of the people that
have been there for a long time.
For a long, and nobody wants to leave.
Right.
And I'm not saying we want people to leave, but like it's hard to get in the door because they've been there for a long time and they love it there. So yeah, I mean, I love both. I think I'm probably more suited for national radio because of my antisocial personality.
But you are, for folks who don't know Evan's entire background, while he's based out of New York and he does a national show, huge Heat fan. All right.
Well, I'm based out of New York now, but when I moved to South Florida in 2003, so I was not a Knicks fan growing up in New York. And I don't want to interrupt you, but I think you'll appreciate this story. So I moved to South Florida in 2003 in March of 03. So that's the 02-03 season, right? The Caron Butler rookie year.
Bad year. Right.
So we move. There was no sports radio station in West Palm. That's why. So our company, Good Karma Brands, bought ESPN, bought 760 AM at the time, now 106.3, because there was no local sports station in West Palm Beach. There was obviously QAM at the time. 790 didn't exist. There was QAM in Miami, and there were stations in Orlando, but there was nothing in West Palm. And it's a top 50 market in the country, and there was no all sports radio station. So intelligently, the people who own the station, Craig Karmazin and Steve Politziner, who Zaz knows well, they're like, there's a hole. We can literally buy a station in a top 50 market with money in the market for advertising partners where we're competing with no one physically in the market. Because, you know, it's not like QAM or 790 ultimately was like doing events and what. They're not doing the Honda Classic.
It's not the same market.
It's not the same market, 100%. So we moved there in 03, and the Heat welcomed us with open arms, so much so that I'm like, I love this organization. So they won me over by being nice to me. And I know that may sound pathetic, but when you are a huge basketball fan like I was, and I didn't like the hometown team, this team welcomed me with open arms. So pre-Wade, pre-Shaq, pre-LeBron, not Hardaway morning era like you, obviously, or since birth. But I bought in, and I just like, this is the greatest team ever. 82 games every single year I'm watching.
It's funny. It's one of the things where when you grow up a huge sports fan like you and me, and then when you get into this business and you get to kind of see how the sausage is made with some of the teams. I remember, remember the timing. We're talking 04 when I started out in radio, and the Miami Dolphins were just such a huge dumpster fire. And I had grown up a huge Dolphin fan, and it was so disheartening learning some of the ins. Now, a lot has changed with the Dolphins since then, of course. They're a lot better run these days. But it was such a poor atmosphere to be around, and it was such a kick in the junk growing up a huge fan. Like, this is the team. This is how this organization, like, it was so disheartening as a fan that this is my favorite team. And then conversely, it was one of the greatest things that I was able to learn, where the Heat are my favorite team since I'm 7 years old. And then I get to see the ins and outs of how the Heat are run. I'm like, wow, they're just as good on the inside as I hoped they would be, you know?
They're amazing. They're amazing.
It's one of the cool things.
So people, I mean, I don't want to get too inside radio, but like a lot of times when there's a big move made by a team, people like Zaz and I will then say, oh, we got to get so-and-so on who is a part of that move. And I'm not a guest-heavy guy, and I know you weren't necessarily a guest-heavy guy all the time also. But like when the Heat would have some sort of acquisition, it would be cool to have that person on, let the fans hear from that person. Well, they called us. Tim Donovan and his team would literally, and Rob Wilson, they would literally call the station, hey, we just signed so-and-so. Would you guys like to speak to them for 10, 15 minutes? I was 22, 23 years old. Am I kidding me? Are you like, yes. And they would put I probably had Pat Riley on 5 to 10 times.
Yeah.
For 20 minutes each when he was the head coach. So, yeah, they won me over, but people win people over. That's the way life works. So I became a fan of the team, and now, as you know, I obsess over them, and I'll text you random things about like, oh, what do you think about Jamal Cain?
Oh, you love that NBA trade machine. You love it.
All the time. Zaz will like wake up in the morning, and I'll send them a random trade. Like, what do you think about getting Harrison Barnes from the Kings? He's like, can I have breakfast first, please?
Are you? I was at the game a couple nights ago against Chicago. Just the second game I've been to as a fan over the last dozen years.
Oh God, awful.
It was an awful game. And I mean, we had great seats, so I had fun, but it was, and I like being able to watch a game with a drink in my hand. Hadn't done that in 12 years. But an awful game. And I'm bummed because, yeah, I felt like this is an opportunity. They've won 4 in a row. They did what they needed to do. They took care of business on the road. And it's like, all right, now you got 4 home games, all of which are winnable. I mean, Indiana tomorrow, then you got Minnesota and the Lakers who are going to be without Anthony Davis. Like, I'd kind of like, it sounds crazy, but I'd kind of like them to win 8 in a row is kind of what I'm thinking right now. And then they just come right out the gates there. And it feels like 1 step forward, 2 steps back,
So I'm going to get cheesy with you, but I think it's true at this point. No Jimmy, no Winnie. Simple as that. He doesn't want to play every game. He doesn't have to. He's earned the right?
Well, but he had diarrhea a couple nights ago. I mean, that's
but I don't mean that in an insulting. I'm saying he doesn't want that. That's different. But I'm saying with the knee, right? He doesn't want to put wear and tear in the knee during the regular season. And because of his postseason play, he has earned the right for us to say whatever you want, because we know come postseason, he is literally going to be a top 2 or 3 player in the NBA.
But my counter to that is the Heat aren't 6 or 7 games over 500. They're a 500 team.
I understand, but there's 2 things that need to work, right? They cannot win games when he doesn't play. Simple as that. When he doesn't play, they don't win. So the counter is, or the evolution of this argument, I think, is Jimmy's earned the right to do that. And Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra also need to understand they need to put a better team on there, because if he's saying my knee's a little bit tired, a little bit worn out today, and I don't know that I should go, he has the right to do that. But they now have to put a better team on the floor, so they actually put themselves in a position for him to be great in the postseason. Like, they're going to be right now, they're in the play-in. Are we sure they're even going to be in the postseason? I mean, they are. They're so much worse this year than I anticipated. Mm-hmm. And I said, when everybody was ripping on them for the lack of moves in the offseason, I said, oh, well, their offseason ends when the trade deadline hits. That's when their offseason ends. But I thought they would have the best record in the Eastern Conference to start the season, because I thought when you run it back with continuity, that means you believe you are going to take less time to adjust to the new season than everyone else. They've been terrible. They have been terrible this year.
They don't defend.
It just doesn't make sense. And they have to make moves. And I don't know 100% what moves. I mean, we all know that they need a power forward in some capacity, and I don't like blaming that, when Tyler Hero scores, they lose. What do you want him to do? Miss shots? Right. You want him to not score? I mean, give me a break. There's nothing right now that I'm like, whoa, this could be something. Nothing right now with this team.
What really bothered me a couple nights ago was, okay, so Jimmy was, supposed to play. He had diarrhea. Who the hell knows what happened there? All right. But he was supposed to play. So, okay, when Jimmy's ruled out, how do we not turn to Kyle Lowry and say, hey, Kyle, maybe we give it a go tonight. Jimmy can't play. We thought he was going to be able to. We are paying you $30 million a year.
Well, okay, now to be fair, you're not a Kyle Lowry fan. I think that has to. I know. So then
how can I be? How can a Heat fan be a Kyle Lowry fan? How's it possible?
He's much better this year than he was last year. I'll tell you that much. And I know there were personal things, so I don't want to even touch that. See, you go to Kyle Lowry. I go to Bam. I'm sorry, I love Bam, but I go to Bam of like.
But isn't he in the midst of his best stretch of his career right now?
Is he?
He's been pretty great.
I agree, but I also see. To me, there's a difference between he's in the best stretch of his career numerically, right? He's had some great games, double doubles.
It was 12 of 15 a couple nights ago. You know,
because he can't take over a game in my mind. That's the difference. It's not a get the bleep out of the way. Give me the ball. We're not losing this. It's not Jimmy, right? It's not the way he is. And I don't mean to knock Bam. Mm-hmm. I don't know what Spo is supposed to do with this group. I mean, yeah, sure, they could play Dwayne Dedmon less and Orlando Robinson more. All right, is that going to win games for them? You're going to think I'm nuts. Maybe you won't think I'm nuts. Maybe the audience will. I play half of them. When they're dead. No, I'm serious. When they're playing dead, let someone go out there who can show the younger guys, you can't play this way. I am going to give every part of me every night that I play. I also would, and he played well the other night in terms of his shooting percentage, but like, I'd start Duncan Robinson. I'd say
I love that he's playing again. I think it matters.
Yeah, because the reality is, forget the money. He actually can impact games positively if he's on. He can also impact games negatively. But he needs to be mentally empowered in a way that, like, we believe in you.
I like that he's playing again.
Yeah, I don't think they had. What other options are there, Zaz?
Yeah.
That's a major problem right now. These games and the third quarter is still a thing. What happens at halftime? They go out to a club. What happens exactly that every single third quarter they fall apart? It's ridiculous to me. Yeah. I mean, we're sitting there. We were at the roofclaim.com Boca Raton Bowl the other night, and I was with JMP, who, did he pre and post before you did, right? Before they fired him, the station he worked for fired him during the playoffs, right? They fired him and so we rag on JMP on the air about that all the time. Like literally between game 1 and game 2 of the Hawks series, JMP gets canned. And for those who don't know Jeremy Marks Peltz, Zaz will back this up. The nicest, sweetest, most
very
moral,
nice,
kind guy. So it's not like this.
There is nothing controversial about him.
Nothing, right? And they fired him between games 1 and 2. But we're sitting there at the game and we're watching. So, I mean, I don't know that my company's going to love this, but as the game is going on that we're doing sales and marketing for, JMP and I are watching the Heat. And we're watching and we're like, all right, so they're up at half. And we both said to each other, they'll lose. That's how the mindset is right now. They just now, by the way, if they were up at the half against Boston, Milwaukee, Denver, or Memphis, I think they would win.
So they would have kept the energy level, right?
Yeah, they play the level of competition.
Yeah.
Really frustrating. It's really frustrating.
I got to tell you, so speaking of frustrating, the load management in the NBA, Evan, it's an epidemic, all right? And something needs to be done. I don't know what that something is because the league is never going to get off of 82 games. They refuse to. But I think what probably needs, like, LeBron.
I got something.
So hold on. So like LeBron and the Lakers are here next week. All right. We're already getting no Anthony Davis. It's the second night of a back-to-back. They're in Orlando the night before. I told ZASLOW Show 2.0 listeners, hey, you're thinking of going out there and getting your son or daughter an early Christmas gift, and you're going to take them to go see LeBron. I got news for you. He's not going to play that game. All right. So the NBA, extend the beginning of the season by a week, extend the end of the season by a week. You got to get rid of back-to-back games. You got to get rid of it. I don't know what else there is to do. Something needs to be done about folks buying tickets. They have tier packages. We're paying more money for a Laker game, all right? And then the guys who we're supposed to pay more money for, they're not going to play. Something needs to be done, Evan.
Okay, a couple of things. First of all, so I also work on NBA radio. One of the guys I work on NBA radio with on SiriusXM is Tim Legler. And Legler has the best line about this. He goes, I'm not suggesting that the science and the medicine is wrong.
Right.
What I'm asking, and this is Legler, he says, what I'm asking is, why does load management just apply to stars? Why don't role players have load management? Because if you think about it, like, why doesn't Max Strus have load management?
He definitely runs around so much trying to get open.
Right. So Max Strus plays his ass off. Max Strus works constantly. But he's not given nights off for load management.
Like, so I guarantee you a couple years ago, Duncan Robinson ran the most than any player on the floor.
He didn't have load management. So it's really not like load management is a selective term. So the way to fix it, in my opinion, and I don't know if they're going to do this, is think about the voting for all NBA, MVP, and all the awards. That's done by media, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that actually impacts contracts, which is stupid, but it currently does. So if you make all NBA a certain amount of times, you're eligible for a higher percentage of the. So the way to do it, load management, is in order to be eligible for all NBA and any awards, you need to play a certain amount of games. And if you do it that way and you connect the dots, you are then not eligible for Supermax higher percentage of cap. So in other words, if you're going to look at, let's just say Jimmy, just for argument's sake. Let's say Jimmy wants 35% of the Heat cap instead of 30%, just for argument's sake. Well, if you don't play 65 games a year, you're not eligible for all NBA, Defensive Player of the Year, MVP, whatever it is, and thus you're not eligible for a higher percentage of the cap. So you can load manage all you want. You have to understand that future earnings will be affected by load management.
Mm-hmm.
That, to me, is a way to do it. Now, I don't know that the players are going to sign up for that, but I don't know that the players need to sign up for that because it's a media vote. And the players made, in my opinion, a horrible decision tying the MVP award and all this and money to the media voting. But if the media and the league say, okay, if Jonathan ZASLOW is going to vote for MVP, he is not allowed to vote for someone that plays less than a certain amount of games. And if the person doesn't win MVP, they are then not eligible for a higher contract, higher percentage of the cap. I mean, and that wasn't my idea originally. Somebody had that and I forgot who, so I apologize. But that is the most logical way of doing it to me.
The place that I always go to, how come hockey players don't need load management? You will never, first of all, you can't tell me that the game of hockey is not physically taxing. All right. That's for sure. And no one has ever showed up to a hockey game. No fan has ever showed up to a hockey game and found out, wow, Ovechkin is resting tonight. Oh, wow. Barkov, Crosby, they're resting tonight. Do you know what would happen if a hockey player walked into the dressing room morning skate and, his teammate says, hey, you're not getting ready? Nah, I'm resting tonight. How come hockey players don't have load management?
I never thought about that once. It's a great point by you. And I don't like crapping on NBA players because I love the NBA so much. I know you do also. I'm not a hockey guy like you are, but that is a brilliant point.
It's never happened. They never rest.
That.
Never.
Yeah, it's because it's not like they don't have doctors or sports science people or anything like that. I mean,
they play the same NBA schedule, 82 games, back to backs. Same thing.
I'm going through in my head, like, what's the difference? Well, they're on skates, so the feet not have the wear and tear. They're wearing pads. Oh. That's stupid.
Last night, one of the Panthers defensemen, Mark Stahl, he took a puck off the wrist. Okay, you tell me he had to come out like he missed the next ship. You tell me it's not black and blue today. He's not going to miss a game. He's not going to miss a game.
It is. I don't know how to answer that. How come nobody's made that
answer
before? That's a brilliant point by you. It's a brilliant point.
They never, ever rest. Never.
I also think it wasn't as prevalent as it seems to be this year. I thought it was actually overrated in the past, and I thought it was just Kawhi Leonard that was doing it. I didn't think it was everybody else. This year, oh my God, it's bad.
Yeah, really bad. I got a couple other things here before we let you go. Give me some thoughts here on the Dolphins. All right. You guys talk about the Dolphins every now and then because this year, as opposed to other years when it comes to national shows, like the Dolphins are now a national topic. I mean, you turn
national
on the
topic for two reasons, I would say. One, and I'm saying in season, not all the Stephen Ross stuff before this, right? Because obviously that was the national topic. Two reasons. One, Mike McDaniel is literally and physically different than every coach that has ever done that job in the history of the sport. And because of Tua's injury stuff. So they became very big national topics, I think, for those two reasons. And again, you're looking at a coach like Jeff Saturday is literally different than any coach we've ever seen. Mike McDaniel is literally different because he's cool. Like normally coaches aren't actually cool. And I think he's cool. But go ahead. Sorry.
Did you come out of the game last weekend against Buffalo? Because it's interesting. I feel like a lot of people, a lot of national folks, still not necessarily buying into the Dolphins, even during the 5-game winning streak, and certainly not after they lost the Chargers, not after they lost the Niners. But I feel like a lot of people on television, on radio now, after seeing the Dolphins, who've now lost 3 in a row, after the Buffalo loss, are now buying into the Dolphins because they really liked the performance, even though they lost the game Saturday night.
Yeah, I'm not buying in from a Super Bowl perspective, if that's what you're talking about. And it's more so because of the conference. I still think Kansas City is going to be an impossible out. I still think Buffalo's tricky. I think Buffalo's really good. I'm not as big of a Josh Allen guy as everybody else is. I still wonder, big spot. It's 24-17 Kansas City, even at home. Josh Allen has the ball on the 8-yard line. He could, in my opinion, that's an interception waiting to happen. I don't think that about Mahomes, right? And I know Mahomes is throwing picks. Josh Allen is still in those moments interception prone. And Cincinnati, Cincinnati's been great as of late. So I think the Dolphins are in a very tricky spot conference-wise. And I know people love Tua. I have a weird take on this. I don't believe in the lefty quarterback in the modern NFL. I just don't. I don't believe in the lefty quarterback. I just think it's...
I want to tell you something so odd. So a couple of weeks ago, someone on Twitter took a Tua highlight reel
and reversed it.
I
thought he was the greatest quarterback in the league at that point.
And I don't know how to explain it, but it looks so different.
Thank you. It's just not the same.
Like they reversed the highlights, and I mean he's slinging that ball, And as a lefty, and I love Tua, okay, but the lefty throws look different, looked like a struggle almost, and in the reverse highlights, he looks like Marino out there.
So let me ask you a question as a fan of both of these teams, right? And this is not analysis. It's more of feeling amongst fans, right? So I don't want this to be taken as Dolphins analysis. This is not it. As a Heat fan, I feel like most Heat fans, even now when this team is struggling this year, feel like somehow, some way they're going to figure it out. Do you feel like as a Dolphins fan, most Dolphins fans, you included, feel like somehow, some way this is going to fall apart?
Oh, yeah. I mean, my entire childhood, the Dolphins start 7-2, 8-3 every year. All right. But when we get to December, man, that's when we pile up those losses. All right. Every year, like Hanukkah comes every December. So does that Dolphins swoon. All right. And like it's happening. Have Dolphins won a game this month? I don't think so. So yeah, that's what happens in December with the Dolphins until they prove otherwise, I guess. Although I do think the Dolphins are going to win these final 3 games. I do.
Yeah. And I think Tua is good enough. Don't get me wrong. There's something when I pit him against those 3 guys, Mahomes, Allen, and Burrow, it's hard to think that he can outduel them in those spots. Now, by the way, I am a big believer that game manager should be the biggest compliment you can give a quarterback. Because to me, game manager means you throw to the right people, you make the right decisions, and you don't turn the ball over. And I think that it's ridiculous. Like when you think about when people say the most talented quarterback in the league, to me, that means colossal disappointment. Think about this for a second. Nobody ever says that Tom Brady's the most talented guy in the league. Nobody ever said Joe Montana was the most talented guy. Nobody's ever said Michael Jordan's the most talented. You only say talent when it comes to people that didn't live up to the talent. Aaron Rodgers, most talented. But, okay, Lamar Odom, and I know. I always say Lamar Odom is the most talented basketball player I've ever seen. I've never seen someone be able to do at his size, at his length, what he can do. He didn't live up to it. I love Lamar, but he didn't live up to it. Aaron Rodgers is a first ballot unanimous Hall of Famer, but he only has 1 Super Bowl, and people like you and I that value those things when you're at that level. We're not doing the Dan Marino, Trent Dilfer. That's the dumbest argument of all time, right? Marino it's only important that Marino didn't win because he's iconically great. If he wasn't that, it doesn't matter. So when people say, well, Tua's kind of game manager, that's a compliment to me. The fact that Tua may not have the strongest arm, who cares? What? That's so irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. Does he get the ball to the people that are open?
Yeah.
Does he have a lack of mistakes, and does he make the right decision?
Yeah.
Those are the only things that matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think the critique of Tua is actually incorrect. I'm not a huge Tua guy, but I think the way in which people critique him is actually ass backwards, honestly.
I got one more thing for you here, Evan Cohen. It's completely off topic, but you'll have to bear with me here because it's something that I've been talking about today. So yesterday, I watched with my son on Netflix. Have you seen the Untold documentaries?
I saw the one about Donaghy.
Right.
I saw the one. I've seen. Was it a hockey one?
Well, yesterday I watched the Manti Te'o.
Yes, I've seen that. Yeah.
Okay. So I know I'm late to the party, but I watched the Manti Te'o yesterday. My son, he's home from for vacation. He's scrolling through. He goes, "Hey, do you know about this story?" He's too young to actually have lived it, And I'm like, "I want to watch that. Do you want to?" He goes, "Yeah, this looks crazy." So
Yeah.
we watched the Manti Te'o doc yesterday. It was very upsetting to me. Okay, like
really? In what way?
I felt terrible for him. I felt really bad for him.
Yes, 100%.
It was very upsetting to me. I thought he came out looking great. I mean, obviously, look, gullible, naive, all of that. Okay. But I thought he came out of it looking great. And I was very upset for him. It's a great documentary. I mean, it lived up to everything that I heard about it. It's wild, but I was very upset for him.
I remember when I watched it I think it came out a month or two ago, whenever it was. And I went on the air the next day and I apologized to him publicly.
I felt like I wanted to find him and hug him.
Not that he was listening to me in that moment, but I felt like I made fun of you.
Probably.
We did hits on you. I ragged on you. I destroyed you. I didn't believe you. And I'm sorry because I was wrong. And I jumped to too many conclusions looking back on it. He was 1,000% innocent of what happened. He was not innocent of being well, he was gullible, right? Yeah. I think that's a good way, what you just said. I felt horrible for him.
Me too.
After everything that I watched, and I was wrong in what I did. I mean, we did so many bits on him, and he has amazing strength and character at this point.
Seems like a great dude.
And he is someone that, this is probably deeper than you want to go, but I don't care. We'll go here for a second. If you're somebody out there listening or watching and you need help, he is an unbelievable example that getting therapy and getting help really can work. Because if you watch that documentary, the 2 parts all the way through, and how he acts at the end, and his sole purpose is just to lift others up, I don't know how. I don't think I could have been that way. I don't know what I would have done to myself, God forbid, if this was me, right? Yeah. He is he's heroic in what he's doing.
Like that moment where he was saying, it was the most hated people in sports, and it was Lance Armstrong, Tiger Woods, and Manti Te'o. And he says, "How did I end up on this list?"
How did the other? I mean, by the way, say what you want about the other 2. There are a lot worse people than those 3 in sports. I mean, that's a weird list in itself. Yes. Tiger was a serial cheater and had major problems, but that is Tiger affecting Tiger's family. Lance Armstrong was a liar and a cheater, right?
Who raised a lot of money to try and cure cancer. Right. There should be more liars and cheaters in sports to raise money to try and cure cancer.
Right. You want to, hated in sports. Yeah. I'm thinking Ray Caruth. I'm thinking Aaron Hernandez. I'm not thinking those 3. I understand disappointment, but my God.
I felt so bad by the end. Man, I had to talk about it today. I know I'm late to the party.
I don't blame you because it's one of those things that the moment you see it, you're like, "Oh, I really made a mistake looking back on that. I totally read that situation incorrectly."
Yeah. Evan, this was excellent. Great job, buddy. This is an excellent ZASLOW Show 2.0 appearance. That's right. Thank you. You're my boy today. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
Tell everyone some stuff you got going on. Go plug some stuff. Let's hear it.
6A to 9A Eastern Time on Mad Dog Sports Radio, Channel 82 on SiriusXM Monday through Friday. Of course, listen if you're in West Palm, listen to ESPN 106.3, as you'll hear a great station there. And then ZASLOW Show 2.0, support his advertising partners. Get more of them in there. Tell people, have fun with it. And that's what I wanted to plug.
How funny is it when you see people, be it social media or what have you, who just over the last 6 months or whatever it is, are being introduced to Christopher Mad Dog Russo because he's on First Take every Wednesday. And it's like, yeah, this guy's kind of been around for a while.
It's amazing. You're talking about a guy who's in the Radio Hall of Fame, was won a Marconi Award, which is, for anybody who doesn't know, the top award in radio. And he literally invented the medium. Basically what we're doing today would not be done without Christopher Mad Dog Russo, WFN in New York at the time, and now SiriusXM. And I think he's at his peak of fame and popularity.
Amazing.
Right now.
Amazing.
And I will say this, and people can say what they want about Stephen A. That's fine. Stephen A. Smith makes $12-15 million a year, I think deservedly so, from ESPN. And I personally have known him, and I think he's a wonderful guy. The reason that works is Stephen A. Smith, who is at the top of his game, has full-fledged admiration for Dog and is in awe of him and is such a fan that when Dog's on there, he just like sits back and smiles and laughs and becomes the rest of us. That I think it's really cool when people that are that successful are openly fans of other people that are that successful. I mean, you worked with and for a couple of people in Boog and Levitard that are that way, right? They are really successful. They're at the top of their game, and they will openly talk about how good other people are and the security that they have in that. And that's the way Stephen A. is with Dog. Loves them. And I think too many times you have people in this industry don't want to acknowledge that there are people that are really good and better and like talk about them in a positive way. And I think that what Stephen A. has done with Dog is amazing. Yeah. And he deserves a ton of credit. But Dog's popular. I mean, it's funny. I mean, by the way, it's not dissimilar to Levitard with you, right? Like when he went national, it's like, yeah, this guy's been writing for the Miami Herald and dominating South Florida sports for 30 years. Now you get how interesting and funny and talented he is. So it's a weird dynamic in that regard.
Excellent job, Evan. Appreciate you, man. Again, SiriusXM Morning Men, Mad Dog Radio every morning, 6 to 9 a.m. My favorite show. Everybody knows it now. I could say it as many times as I want. Great job, Evan. We'll do it again soon, man.
Thanks, guys.